Hey everybody, we just talked about this, but if you are watching this video late and you couldn't make it to Zoom today, a period of pendulum activity is due by Friday at midnight. There is a survey form in that assignment in Google Classroom to fill out after you get your data, and get yourself a science notebook, please, if you don't have one already. Okay, so our science session video for today, September 3rd, Pup of the Day. Number 2, a fast review from our last session on variables. Our video lesson will then cover the metric system basics and then back to live Zoom. There's our Pup of the Day. That one I picked out super fast just because of the glasses and the computer. I wonder what his or her name is. You decide today. Okay, let's do our fast review from not last week, from last session. So variables, and we just talked about this live after we went through our data. But again, independent variable, that's what you changed or manipulated on purpose. Dependent variable, what you measure or record. Dependent variable was time for everybody on their pendulum activity. Control variables, remember these are things you're trying to keep constant or the same during an experiment. So let's take a look at this. Pretend you have 3 tomato plants. You want to see what fertilizer works best on your tomato plants. You buy 3 different brands of fertilizer at the store. Each plant gets its own brand of fertilizer once a week, and you measure the number of tomatoes each plant produces over the next month. All the plants get the same type of soil, amount of water, sunlight. So from this experiment description, what is the independent variable? Now some of you probably already have it right away. Some of you might be thinking, some of you might be lost, and that's all right. The easiest way to identify your independent variable, what are you changing on purpose? What are you giving to these 3 plants differently, deliberately on purpose? It is, hopefully you guessed to yourself, it is the brand or type of fertilizer. We are doing that on purpose. Each of these 3 plants gets a different brand. Okay, from looking at this description, what is the dependent variable? So dependent variable is what you are measuring, observing, and writing it down as your data. So we just said that independent was our brand of fertilizer. And over the next month, what are we watching and recording? Yes, hopefully you guessed, we are going to measure the number of tomatoes that the plant produces. Can you identify at least one controlled variable? I'll give you a hint. Look at the very last sentence of the experiment description. All the plants get the same type of soil. They get the same amount of water. They get the same amount of sunlight. And we could list a whole bunch of others too. But we are keeping those constant. So those would be variables we are controlling or trying to keep the same. Okay, so now we are to getting some things in our science notebook. I'm going to hit pause. We'll give you 45 seconds around there or so to get this down. Okay, so you want to title this metric system. And a couple of points, and these aren't all of them, but we're trying to keep things nice and easy here in the beginning. Metric system is based on units of 10. If that does not make sense to you, don't worry about it right now. It'll come together. It takes some time. It's used by all scientists, and it's used in most countries around the world. So do not sketch that map. There's 3 countries on the whole planet that are not using the metric system 100% for all their measurements. So most of the planet is on the metric system. And it is actually easier to use once you get the hang of it. In our country, we're just used to using a whole different system, right? Like feet and inches. That is not metric. Okay, I will pause again. We want you to get down this box right here. Right? Try and make it nice and organized and clean. Don't forget these things in parentheses. Those are unit symbols. This is going to be a helpful little diagram to you. So let's get that in our notebook. Okay, so let's take a look at some basic units for the metric system. If we are going to measure a length, and if you wanted, you could add the word distance in right here. Some people like the word distance instead of length. That's up to you. So length, the base unit's in meter. The symbol is a lowercase m. If we're going to measure mass, that's going to be in a gram. It's a lowercase g. Volume is going to be in liters. That's in L. Time is going to be in seconds, and that is in S. Okay, we're going to pause again. I'm going to give you longer than 45, 60 seconds for this. This is a really important diagram. It's going to help you immensely in the coming weeks. So try and make it clean, organized, easy to read for yourself. Get it down exactly like you see it here. And then these words on top. Some people don't like that. Some people find it helpful. But I will always let you use this little chart. Okay? The top is to help you memorize it if you want, but I will always let you access this little chart diagram. So we're going to hit pause and let you get that down. Alrighty, so hopefully everybody's got that down and you made it nice and organized, not sloppy. The cleaner it looks in your notebook, the better tool it's going to be for you. So here's what you've got. Here's a few other things I want you to add at this point. So up at the top here, kilo, hecto, deca, all those words across the top, those are called prefixes. And then the symbol, so just a K, an H, DA, we'll get to this middle box in a little bit, a D, a C, and M. Those are all the symbols for those prefixes. So you can add that to the side of your chart. So now we're going to look at some examples. I'm going to hit pause. Just write these examples down, and then we're going to talk about them. Okay. So hang with me here. I'm going to tell you a couple of things that really helped me, and I know they help other people. They might work for you, they might not, okay? So let's look at this first one, KM. Most people have seen that one. So I bet a lot of you are already saying, oh, that's kilometer. Or a lot of people pronounce that kilometer. So kilometer, kilometer, that's the same thing. A prefix. So think about sports. If you have a pre-game warm-up, is that before or after you have your competition? Obviously it's before. Pre-game warm-up happens before. So out of these two letters right here, the prefix is always the first letter. The base unit is always going to be the second letter. So we're going to go right here now. I want you to write down these rules right here. So here's our same examples. Get these rules down. I'll hit pause, and then we will regroup and keep going. Okay, so like we just said, the first letter is always the prefix. So what is that K? Kilo, we said that. What about that C? Look at your chart, your King Henry doesn't drink chocolate milk chart. That is centi. What about this one? This one can be kind of tricky. Ooh, same with this one. Let's skip down to MM. Boy, so we have, if we go back to our chart, golly, let's look in here. We've got base units, so we got meters, and we also have milli. So which one is which down here for MM? Again, let's do our rules. The first letter is always going to be the prefix, so that is milli. The second letter is the base unit, so it's meters, so that's millimeter. And I'm trying to use ones that most of us have seen to keep this easy. So ML, that would be milli, because it's the first of the two letters, and then that's liter, so that's milliliter. Okay, so here you've got your answers. So I'm going to hit pause so you can write those out. All right, so we looked at our prefixes, our base units in there. These are really common ones that we're going to see and use. Okay, still getting in our science notebook. I would like you to write these 3 lines down. I'll pause it. Okay, so sometimes we have units that are only 1 letter. So what if the unit is only 1 letter? All right, it's super easy. It's going to be one of your base units. So this is where we go to our middle box, okay? If it's 500 M, that means that's the meter. This is the one tricky part about this. You could call it a cheat sheet, a diagram. You can call it whatever you want. So our chart down here, meter is represented by an M, but so is milli. This seems to get people a lot. So if it's 1 letter, go to your middle box. It's going to be a base unit. Okay, this is also going in our science notebook. We'll hit pause, let you get these questions down. Okay, so what metric units, remember we're trying to use metric here, not things like pounds or ounces. What would you use for a small scoop of sugar? Something like that, like putting in your coffee. So probably we'd just go with straight up grams right here. What about the mass of a car? So something much, much larger. Again, we're not using pounds. So grams, not really. That's for something kind of like a powder or a little bit of a substance. Probably kilograms. So those of you that have spent time in a weight room and you've looked on plates for lifting, you probably see kg. So the mass of a car for metric, probably going to go with kilograms. What about the length of a fingernail? Right, we're not using inches. That's the English system. So we're using metric. So if you look at here, would it be a meter? A meter's, about 3 feet long. So hopefully you picked something, like a centimeter or millimeters. Either of those would be good choices. Okay, so that's the end of required writing. I'm going to hit pause so you can read this. Do not write it down, but just read it, and then we'll talk about it live. Okay, hopefully you read that, and we will get back live and discuss.